there.
If you blinked, you would have missed him. Immediately after being sworn in this morning, Member of Parliament for North Abaco, Hubert Ingraham, quickly exited the House of Assembly and drove here to his law office on Cable Beach. He sat down for an exclusive and quite candid interview with NB12. Though he chose not to stay in Parliament Square for the reading of the speech from the throne, Mr. Ingraham did read the 24-page document. Quite frankly, he says, it does not contain anything revolutionary. However, he says there are a number of plans that he considers quite doable and that he will support.
I thought, for instance, that the commentary they made on the mortgage relief program was a sensible and doable proposition, similar to what we had proposed while we were in office and had been having discussions with the banks on. It is quite different from what they promoted to the public of Bahamas, which was a thoughtless, undoable proposition. What they put forward today is workable.
For instance, he says the government's plan to develop a financially sustainable mortgage relief plan would assist Bahamians who have consistently paid their mortgage in the past, but are currently unable to do so because they have fallen on hard times. The former Prime Minister says prior to the May 7th general election, his government held formal discussions with the central bank and other lending institutions to provide assistance to homeowners facing foreclosure. While he supports the PLP's plan for mortgage relief, Mr. Ingraham dismissed the government's stance on the issuing of contracts during a certain period as absolute nonsense. The government announced plans to enact legislation that would prevent it from entering into contracts of employment or the related payment of public monies between the time Parliament is dissolved and the general election.
Well, that's nonsense, and the only government would be bound by that would be their government. Because the next government that comes in after they were left would be able to change the law as they did. That is absolute nonsense. And also inconsistent with their past practice when they were in office the last time. This must be a new epiphany that they have undergone, because when they came to office in May of 2007, people were showing up to work who had been issued letters on the 2nd of May and the 3rd of May, in fact the day after election.
The speech from the throne says nothing about the Bahamas Telecommunications Company, which was privatized last year. Shortly after the government sold 51% of BTC shares to Cable and Wireless Communications, the PLP vowed to get the majority stake in BTC back under Bahamian ownership and to push for a commission of inquiry. Mr. Ingraham says he welcomes such an inquiry. However,
the reality is, that many of the things that we did in office are irreversible. Never mind the talk.
He also responded to PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts' claim that the Christie administration met a budget deficit of around $500 million and that criminal charges could be filed after an investigation into the Ingraham administration's management of public funds.
It is wonderful to look at the facts and say, okay, fine. How are these deficits created? What deficits did the PLP have while they were in office when things were supposed to be so good? And what did they do with the money? What deficits did the FNM have while they were in office? And what did the FNM do with their money? I invite you, go around, touch, see, feel, and compare.
The former Prime Minister says there is a huge difference between talking and doing. He says he plans to watch to see if the PLP actually delivers on its many promises.